Let's do another example of solving our system of equations using matrices. So when I ask you to do that, and it's in this form, remember we're going for ax equal to b, because that means that we can find x equal to a inverse times b, assuming that a inverse does exist. Remember, A is our coefficient matrix. So first row becomes our first equation. We're going to have -6, -2. Second row becomes second equation, -1, 2. I think I said that backwards. Meant second equation becomes second row. There we go. Times our X matrix, which is our variable matrix. Two variables means that we're going to have two rows and one column. So again, notice that A was 2 by 2, X is a 2 by 1, and B is also going to be a 2 by 1 because each row comes from the individual equations. So -88 is our first row, and 4 is our second row of B. So we have another 2 by 1. To solve for X, so X equal to A inverse times B, we first need to find A inverse. So remember, solving by hand, we're going to have 1 all over. Little a, little b, little c, little d in A times d, which is -6 times 2, minus b, which was -2, times c, which is -1. Notice I haven't changed anybody's sign yet or the order. None of that changes in matrix A until the crazy matrix, where we flip-flop along the main diagonal. 2 comes up, -6 goes down, and we negate on the backswing. Since -1 is already negative, it becomes positive. And same thing with the 2 in the upper right corner. Simplify the denominator, we would have -12 minus a +2, which means that we have 1 all over -14. And yes, I know we're not supposed to have the negative in the denominator. It's not pretty mathematically. It's not okay. But since this is an intermediate step, I'm not going to fuss over it, even though that negative should be up above with the 1. So it should look like that. But I'm okay if you have the negative down on the 14. Here we have multiplication by a scalar, which means that we need to distribute that fraction and multiply every single term of our crazy matrix by 1 over -14 or -1 over 14. And don't forget to simplify your fractions. 2 all over -14 becomes -1/7. We're going to have it written twice because of the top row being the same. Bottom left corner, we get -1 all over 14 from 1 times 1 over -14. And then -6 all over -14 reduces to 3/7. Remember, you can check this in a calculator, but you still have to be able to show your work by hand if you want to earn full credit on anything. Okay. Now that we have found A inverse, we can go back to the equation we're trying to solve. The X is equal to A inverse times B. So we're going to have X is equal to the matrix we just found. -1/7, -1/7, -1 over 14, 3 over 7, times our B matrix, which was our constant matrix, the equal to matrix, -88, 4. And I know that you're thinking we still should have an answer because she's come this far, but always double check that you can do your multiplication by comparing your dimensions of what you're trying to multiply. A was a 2 by 2, A inverse was a 2 by 2, B was a 2 by 1. Middle terms are good, which means that our result will be a 2 by 1. Since we are going to need a 2 by 1, I'm going to go ahead and make a matrix with 2 rows, 1 column, and I can label where these are. Top one would be row 1, bottom one would be row 2, and I only have 1 column, so I'm going to make those column 1. And remember, this tells us how to do our multiplication. We're going to take our row 1 from A inverse. We're going to multiply that by column 1 from matrix B, which means we're going to have negative 1/7 times negative 88 plus negative 1/7 times 4. Remember, we're multiplying the first two together, and then we add the second two multiplied together. Since we have multiplied everything in row 1 by everything in column 1, we get to go to the second row. So we're going to have negative 1/14 times, again, negative 88, because they were first in their row and column, plus, because it's always plus, 3/7 times 4, because the 4 came last in his column. And remember, what's in parentheses from column 1 should line up. If not, something went wrong. Double check your multiplication. And if you plug these individually into your calculator, because even I don't want to do that in my head, you would get 12/8. Remember, if I was just asking you to find the variable matrix, we would be done, but we're not, because we asked you to solve the system of equations. But remember that our X matrix was equal to little x, little y in the 2 by 1 matrix, which means that we do have our answers. We know that little x is equal to 12, little y is equal to 8, and if I asked for an ordered pair, xy would be 12/8. So remember, do not stop at the X matrix. You have to actually find the variables.